I'm Brandon.
Oh, my name's Tony.
And today we're going to be reviewing Quentin Tarantino's first movie, Reservoir Dogs, from 1992. What's your favorite scene?
Favorite scene is when Mr. Orange is pitching or trying to get in with is trying to get in with the job for Mr. or Joe's heist, and he starts developing his story.
Find out what time.
We'll go from there. Pardon the interruption. We're going to start. Go ahead.
Yeah, so from he's trying to get into Joe's heist, and he's developing this scene, or making up this scene that he has to to fit in, because obviously he's an undercover cop. Spoiler. And the whole time when he finally gets it down and when he has to pitch his story to Joe and Mr. White and Eddie, he starts getting he has it down by this point, and he continues talking about it, and then he's so good at it that Quentin Tarantino pulls into the scene where Mr. Orange is in there, and he starts to show the scene where he's in the bathroom he's talking to Joe, and he's pitching the idea, or he's saying a story, but what's going on in the scene is he's talking to the cops that he runs into in his story, and it's like it happened, but it really never happened, So I figure, especially when the camera starts to go around and around, spinning around, definitely Quentin Tarantino right there, because the dialogue is pulling you into the character and pulling you into the scene,
That's good. I really like the idea that it gets more and more real the more he rehearses it, to the point where you end up in this fictional setting like it really happened, with all these people, and I totally didn't. My favorite scene is the "Let's get a taco" scene, where Mr. White and Mr. Orange are in the car discussing the plan for the heist, and Mr. White says, if someone gives you trouble, you need to smash their nose in with the butt of your gun. And then he talks about cutting off the little finger and the thumb of the manager.
Right.
The reason I like that is because I think he's the most sympathetic character, Mr. White, and that throughout the movie they kind of make you feel like he's the dude, that it's the good guy, but that scene kind of flips it on its head, because he's just talking about bashing people's faces in.
Yeah.
And it reminds you that he is a criminal, and he's a violent criminal.
Yeah.
And it kind of does bring you back.
And then with that too, I feel there's an underlying tone. That's when he starts to really connect. He's you know what, I kind of because it's just him and Mr. Orange. He's I kind of like this kid. He kind of takes him under his wing. Kind of all right, this guy. And you can see him definitely hitting off. Hey, let's go get a taco.
Yeah.
So it's all right, these guys are gonna be homies.
And I feel that's a classic Tarantino move too, is to say to end this whole scene as about vividly describing beating someone's nose in to get him to comply with your wishes, and then end it with something let's go get a taco.
Yeah.
Just something completely lighthearted.
Yeah.
So that moves us.
Right?
What? Tacos?
That's what we do when we.
Oh yeah, when we commit armed robbery.
What?
Anyway. Yeah, so second thing, is there anything in this movie that stands out that we think of as classic, a classic Tarantino move?
Yeah, I at first I'm this was hard. It's his first film, but honestly, that going back to my favorite scene right there, that dialogue scene really gets you in there, and especially with the camera angle. But also, just popped in my head, the intro scene when they're all sitting around the coffee table.
Yeah.
You're sitting there why are these? You think about it, what are they talking about? They're talking they're talking about Madonna, and then you're oh wait, but you start to pick everyone's character, Mr. Pink, I don't like the tip, and then all of a sudden you get to see this guy's like this guy's like that, and it's nothing, but it is something still. It's intense. You really start to feel for the characters, and it's a good intro.
It is. It's probably one of the more famous I think opening scenes.
Oh yeah,
especially because it has nothing plot-wise, doesn't do
Yeah.
anything. It's totally just a character-building scene.
Yeah.
That doesn't have anything to do with the plot or what these guys do for a living, but totally lets you know how these guys are going to be.
Yeah.
Okay.
Should I cover this up? I shouldn't.
Yeah,
we're advertising that.
Yeah, we're
I
going to get
sued. I don't want to get
sued.
sued
By the Negra Modelo beer company.
Yeah.
Okay, so next thing. Who is the good guy in this movie? Like, who's the moral center out of all these dudes? Like, who's the most just or the most justified?
Harvey Keitel.
Harvey Keitel.
Yeah.
But you think, right? Like, he is.
He is.
But he gets played, and he kills the guy that he supposedly is buddies with and he respects. Whereas Mr. Blonde, at least, stays true to his own code. Like, he is a psycho.
He is a yeah.
But he doesn't betray anybody.
You can't not... Like, at first, like, that guy's a fucking crazy, he's like, scumbag. But then you're just like, you know what, though? He is loyal.
He is loyal.
You know, and he gets killed by a cop. You know, and then Eddie knows. He's like, this guy's, you know...
Yeah.
I wouldn't say he's the good guy, though.
No. It's hard, but who's... Because even Harvey Keitel, I mean, you have that taco scene where he's talking about busting people's noses in.
Yeah.
And which is like, oh, well, at least he's not killing them. But he's talking about chopping dudes' fingers off.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Which is the same torture, or similar. It's
similar torture to what Mr. Blonde does.
What Mr. Blonde does. So Harvey
yeah.
Keitel's not above that.
And I think it's classic Quentin Tarantino. There's no good guy.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some in the other one, but
I think he likes to play with that idea.
Yeah, it's like, well, who is a good guy? And you're kind of like, well, they're all humans. They're all sick. They're all, you know.
Yeah, they're all flawed.
Yeah.
Okay, next thing, narrative structure of the film. Which I think was also, like, if we talk about, like, classic Tarantino moves, we're getting that here with, like, a totally non-linear story.
So close to your face.
Alright, no, I like it. You get a non-linear story where, you're jumping around a little bit. And first film, I think it's pretty ambitious. I think it's a lot harder to keep things straight and to keep the story flowing. Any opinions?
I mean, now we're used to it. We know that's like, you know. So.
Yeah.
I would like to know, though, like back in the day, what the critics thought about it.
That's true.
I would like to look that up and be like, oh, you know, it's so stupid. But it's like, and if it's funny if they bashed it, and then now it's just like, oh, well, that was him. He did that. And now it's like, oh, you know, like you're saying classic Tarantino things earlier. That's
that would be interesting.
But sorry, what was the question again?
Do you think it works? Do you think like you get a good story? Do you think it adds or subtracts from the story?
I think it adds big time, because the whole time this story's going on, and then there's like injects that he wants to put in there, so he pulls back, and he goes back there, and then you're back to why we're here now. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like I was sitting here and we're watching Quentin Tarantino, or we're watching this movie, and then all of a sudden, like before, like I just freaking fought off a grizzly bear. That's why I got like these cuts on my hand, but now I'm here.
Yeah. Fighting
something like that.
Something like that. I don't know. Yeah. I think it's you could say like the way the movie goes is kind of the way the story, the commode story that Mr. Orange tells goes. Like he's telling you this story, and it's like if you tell your buddy a story, you're like, yeah, but then you have to have something like you go and you're telling him, but then you also are like, wait, you kind of need to know about this to know why it's important.
Yeah.
Like so you're kind of like getting this main story, and then he's giving you these side stories as he's telling you the story, so that the end result you're like, oh yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we're both in agreement that it works.
Yeah.
Third thing, at the end, the shootout, Mexican standoff.
Oh yeah. Why are you looking at me like that, dude?
I don't look at you like anything. The Mexican standoff. Who shoots Eddie?
Who shoots Eddie? I'm in a t-shirt. I mean, who shoots Eddie?
Yeah, that's the real conspiracy.
Yeah.
Grassy knoll type stuff.
Yeah.
Who shoots Eddie? Who shoots nice guy Eddie? We don't know.
We rewound it.
Yeah, we did.
We rewound it a couple of times. And at first, like, what? Who the fuck shoots Eddie? And then we're like, well, maybe Joe takes one, and when he goes down, he tries to shoot back at Eddie. Or tries to shoot back, Mr. White. And when he goes down, he pops one off, and we found out that he doesn't. He doesn't pop one off. He gets shot. He shoots Mr. Orange on the ground. He drops because Mr. White shot him. Mr. White drops because, or is dropping because Eddie shot him. Yeah. But we saw really quick at the last second, it looked like Mr. White popped off too. He shot Joe, and he knew right away he's got to take out Eddie. So as he's going down, he gut shots.
Nice guy Eddie.
Nice guy Eddie. Yeah, that's why Eddie. Nice guy Eddie.
Nice guy Eddie. So that's our conclusion. Is that nice guy Eddie gets shot by Mr. White. Mr. White takes out father and son. Destroys them both.
Yeah.
And then gets the horrible fate.
Yeah.
Oh, bonus question. There's some debate. I think people kind of argue about what happens to Mr. Pink at the end of the movie.
Oh, yeah.
And you can kind of hear what's going on outside of the warehouse thingy.
Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, there's like a lot of argument going on here and out there. You hear some screaming on the radio microphone or on the police microphone. You hear some pop. They start shooting first. That's the thing, though. They start shooting first, and then so it makes you think like, okay, they're in a pursuit. They shot first. Now maybe he shot off rounds to get away, and after a while, there's a lot of yelling. Now, if he was dead, why are they yelling?
Yeah.
You know, or is he being held? There's a lot of questions. I think I don't think he got away. I don't think he got away at all. I think he got shot, and they're getting ready to raid the place, or he got killed, or he got shot, or he got arrested. That's what.
Yeah.
Winston distracted me.
Yeah. If you heard my dog, decided to interrupt. Yeah, we turned it up pretty loud, to the point where Mr. White's grunting would have just gotten ridiculous. And you just hear kind of arguing, and I'm in agreement. I think he probably got arrested, or he gets killed. I don't think there's any way he gets away.
Yeah.
Because there's also Mr. Orange talks about how there's a bunch of cops just waiting for Joe to show up, and Joe showed up, and is there for a few minutes before Mr. Pink tries to leave. So the cops were probably already moving to the warehouse because as soon as Joe showed up, they were going to make their move. Yeah. So what do we say? Good movie? Amazing movie.
Love that movie.
I think we're gonna try to we'll rank Tarantino's movies, try to, as we do this. And so you guys know, this is the summer of Tarantino. We're gonna watch all his movies chronologically and talk about them.
Next one's Naked.
Yeah. You heard it here first.
It was his idea.
He always wants to be naked. Try to get naked for this one. I told him no. Let's ease them into it. Anyway, yeah. So we'll try to rank them. It's kind of hard for this one because I've seen most of them. I think you've seen all, but maybe one. I don't know if you've ever seen Jackie Brown, but I
haven't seen that yet.
But I think you've seen every one of those other movies.
Yeah.
So, but I think it's better if we rank them as we do it, and then maybe at the end, when we get done with Django, we can maybe. Or the hope is that we'll do this, and then maybe we'll wait to do a final ranking. Is when he releases his new movie, supposedly in November, we're gonna go see it. We have to go see it.
Yeah, it's a good build up.
And then we can pop it in there. So let us know.
Yeah.
If you guys like this, or if you didn't like it.
Or if you hate our guts and think it's stupid.
Yeah.
And want to kill us.
Yeah.
I get that a lot.
Yeah, you do. Because you're an idiot. Yeah, let us know what you think. Thanks for watching. And
this is recorded?